Grab your gear and let's go.
With the Strafe Esports app, follow your favorite teams and players, and you'll never miss a match again. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.
Oh, crap.
Exclusive Black Equalizer brightens dark scenes without overexposing bright areas. Use the S-switch to quickly access the setting and switch between save modes.
I capture the pawn at E5.
You lose your queen.
Check. I think like a 40-year-old, and
Staszek, you could help in the kitchen instead of playing with that gizmo all the time.
she just won't let me play in peace.
TP-Link connects with passion.
They have no idea he's up close. They're looking for more. That's a third one coming in. Looking for the quad killer. Nearly gets it.
Stewie, yes, there's one headshot and there's another.
They're getting two big headshots. Looking for more. Oh my God! He's going to go on Team J or the round of the weekend.
Agent Lorraine Broughton, an expert in intelligence collection and hand-to-hand combat. We have a mission for you. Find out who's hunting down our operatives.
Shall we begin?
David Percival is your contact.
Let me help you with your bags.
For God's sake.
Remember, trust no one.
Someone tried to set me up. But then you knew that, didn't you? MI6, CIA, everyone's involved. I'm impressed. You've got some balls breaking in here.
You should see my balls, then you'd be really impressed.
I'll take your word for it.
Ready for action. Ready for action. But there's nowhere to go, and there's no way to slow. If I knew what I knew in the past, I would have been like that on your ass.
Oh my God, I think I love you.
That's too bad.
Taser.com, a competitive gaming platform. On Taser, you can find the toughest dudes in the galaxy.
I heard it's got all these great features for real gaming.
Yes, it has, Dan. Like a voice communication system, just post one to your friends. Introducing new Taser security system.
Wow, it's so lightweight. Feels like there's nothing inside.
Far out of her.
When the dust has settled, there are only a select few who leave their mark permanently etched into history. Mere mortals who all had their own unique paths in becoming eternal legends. The path to the top might be for the gamblers, those who make their own luck, the ones who whisper into probability's ear. Not today. Sometimes it is for the gifted, the ones who through sheer force of will bend the laws of physics. And then there are the godlike, those who believe immortality simply theirs for the taking. The ones for whom Valhalla joyously awaits. The gifted, the gamblers, the godlike. There is one thing all of you share with them, a common beginning. Are you next?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PGL Major Krakow 2017 and welcome to the grand final. It is finally here after 8 days of competition. We've had just about everything, haven't we? A little bit of controversy, some drama and surprises aplenty. We have the surprise final as well. Gambit Gaming, or Gambit Esports as they like to be called now, versus Immortals, going head-to-head over 3 maps in front of a capacity crowd. And I'm sure they'll be cheering, despite the fact that they did lose the crowd favourites yesterday. Talking of which, let's take a trip down memory lane to day 2.
Previously on the PGL Major Krakow 2017.
Chance to just equalize the score. Oh, he's heading right at the edge of the smoke. Config doesn't know it. Snacks trying to sneak up behind him. Config not really aware of what's going on yet. This could be a lost AK very quick, and the timing here is favoring Snacks. And is he really going to go for the knife? Oh my God! He takes down Config with a knife in the quarterfinals with everything on the line. It is not looking good. They're trying to see if they can get down, but they're standing on top of the fire and getting shot through the smoke. And Bialy here to block them off with a smoke, waiting. Keiju goes down. Bialy again, he does it with a third coming in, and that's the quad kill.
Astralis side of readying a push in. They've got the grenades starting to sail in. Glaive going for the entry, able to catch one. That's about 5 frags in a single second. Absolute madness here. Mo gets himself 2. A third from Mo. Not going to stop anytime soon here. Ah, there it is, number 4.
So now the side can be pinched by Astralis.
Yeah, Astralis starting to march in here. It's looking very overwhelming. Dozier gets himself 2 though, and it could be more. Indeed it will. A third headshot found as Hobbit now swoops in to save the day. That's a fantastic tap there from Dupree. What else has he got in store? Nothing. It looks like Mo to respond to. Absolute chaos here on the B-bomb site.
He stressed the importance of this pistol round. It will go the way of Gambit.
Yowie that goes down, fast play from KNG to go for the flank. Snax has to shut them both down, and he might. Oh, he might indeed! How does Snax always find position? He is so sneaky.
Pasha though, 4 versus 1. We'll see if he can do anything with this. Bombs down and connected. There's the first kill, something to build upon, but I'm not believing just yet. Up against the double orbs, and all right, now we've got a chance.
Has the sight to work with Lucas. Oh, just barely goes under the crosser. Walks in when he looks away. What a shot! What a shot from Pasha. 6 HP. Plants as open as he possibly dare in the sight. And how does he choose to approach it? Stay on the AK? Because an AWP was down. He's going to go all the way back through vent. Henny just came from there. Henny's going to have no idea. Smoke goes onto it. He's not peeking it yet. Pasha needs patience. Henny spotted. He knows he's not on it. Gets him in the open! Taz goes to the smoke. He won't find it. It's done. Immortals from a minor to a major final. A Brazilian team will be in the grand final of a major again, but it's not SK. It's the Twins and the King who's carried them through. And hearts break. Virtus Pro, what a run, but they cannot go further.
They fought brave and hard all the way through to the semi-finals, but just fell one step short of the grand final, unfortunately for Virtus Pro. We are left with Immortals versus Gambit. It is the surprise major. Two teams that didn't stand a chance, according to most of the experts at the start of this. Maybe they could have got into the quarters, but no one predicted this grand final, including the two men alongside me, and through no fault of their own. Yanko and Moses join me for the grand final. Gents, it's the surprise final. It's the one that no one could have predicted.
It's an exciting final, though, because we have two teams who have spent so long with players on these teams trying to get to this point. I mean, Zeus obviously coming from Navi, the heartbreak there. You know, Immortals emerging finally from SK's shadow in the Brazilian scene. They've been spent so long as the second best team. Now they've taken them over, at least in this one tournament. This is phenomenal stuff coming into this match.
That's the key things about this final, isn't it, Yanko? You do have that, as Jason said, that Zeus kind of. You know, I just wonder how much Navi players are sitting back home going, maybe we made a bit of a mistake
They knew they made a mistake a long while ago.
Yeah, maybe they did. But also on the other side is the Immortals players have always been considered a feeder team without being rude about them for the SK lineup. Now, they've broken out of the shadow here. Regardless of what happens, they've made the major final.
Yeah, and it's amazing that, you know, this is a team that's been struggling to just make the majors for a very long time, even though, you know, they were among maybe not the top 10, but the top 15 at least. A lot of people felt they deserved a place there. But if this major has shown anything, there's no such thing as deserves to win or deserves to be placed here and there. You have to fight for it. You have to earn it. And Immortals have definitely earned their spot in this grand final.
I mean, that's the thing about both teams, right? They've played good Counter-Strike through this tournament. They've beaten very good teams who have been, you know, won tournaments over the last few months. And yet these guys somehow found it within themselves to go up against that. Immortals yesterday against Virtus Pro, against the crowd, against them. Still managed to come through brilliantly. Gambit, same thing, playing Astralis, defending champions.
Especially being, as if you're Gambit, they did it without, like, a Dren being this explosive player that he was through the group stage. He's, you know, Dren's the sole reason they got to the playoffs, and then everyone else kind of stepped up around that. And Astralis is a very difficult team to beat because you can't just beat them with skills, you can't just beat them with tactics, you have to have the whole package. And at least for this moment, you know, I mentioned it last night when we were closing on the broadcast, both these teams have just found the perfect time to peak as lineups. And at the moment, Gambit, I mean, that's just amazing what we've seen out of them. The level of play they brought into this tournament after an atrocious boot camp by their own admission is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think Dren told me privately they didn't win a single practice match in the 2 weeks leading up to the major. It's incredible.
That's just insane. Even by a fluke, you would win some at least.
You got to win one, right?
Listen, generally, we could sit here and say, yes, practice results don't really matter that much. You know, you're trying out new things, perhaps changing things. You shouldn't really look to it. But if you're really having such a terrible practice run leading up to the major, how do you come in with confidence, right? And I think that's why it was very important for Gambit to get off to a good start. You know, if Gambit loses their first game, they might go out 0-3. You know, in a world where they get tilted, you know, they get angry towards each other. We know how, you know, these CIS teams can get very, very emotional. So I think it was that strong start and them getting a 3-0 and then just building off of that.
Players getting ready backstage to come into the arena. Just very quickly, while we get the opportunity before the grand final starts, quick reflection back on the tournament as a whole. How's it been for you?
It's been, I mean, it's been very fun. Obviously, these upsets are kind of interesting. I mean, it's a bummer seeing some of the teams that you want. Like, I mean, that Astralis Virtus Pro rematch was looking good for a while.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cloud9.
would have been nice to have them on the stage for at least a game. It happens, Paul. We're used to it by now. But I mean, you know, the SK Astralis matchup. There's been so many good matchups that we've had in the first half of the year, and the crazy thing is, they're like we only get one of them because I mean, you think FaZe and the matchups they've had with both SK and Astralis in grand finals have been epic, and they didn't even make it to the playoffs. So this major has just been very interesting. It's like throwing everything out the window that we thought we knew coming in.
Full of surprises, Paul.
That's why we've nicknamed it. We've nicknamed it the Surprise Major. We've had the Tech9 Major, we've had the NIP Major, we've had the Fnatic Major. This one's the surprise one. So, right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your chairs, raise the roof of the Krakow Arena once more, and welcome your 2 grand finalists.
I think that some things happen in your life for a reason. I mean, of course, I would love to be legendary like them.
Lucas is hot on the flank, though. Bomb not yet planted. If he times this, he could easily take down the planter. He's got to be careful with his aim. And he's followed it up. Resets it and goes back for next.
The platform, and Eddie, he finds another kill as well. Takes 2! This is falling apart for me. He's up to top field, 15 HP. The bomb has not been planted. Surely he can't do it. And it's Henny who steps up just when they need him. 3 kills in the round.
It again to next. A chance to work with a man advantage and the HP of Steel, but Steel goes overloaded. Timing everything. Timing off for Lucas as he looks the wrong way. K&G gets back in position. Another 2 plays from the secondary off. His key goes back out. He can't get around the corner. It's shut down. 10-3. And he can control it. Taz goes to the smoke. Taz goes to the smoke. He won't find it. It's done.
Welcome on stage, Immortals.
We got something special, we got some major magic. I want to thank everyone who will support us in the future. Thank you guys, we feel your support.
There's 3 kills for the team. It falls apart in a crossfire on the side, trying to delay the spray. It will be good enough. What a hero play from Mo.
He's to be on his mark as well with the AWP. KW. Oh my goodness, Hobbit with 3. Yeah, the strongest side march in here is looking very overwhelming. Dozier gets himself 2 though, and it could be more. Indeed it will.
Welcome on stage, Gambit Esports.
Here we go then. The grand final is almost set. Players will return to their booths. We'll discuss the various merits of Gambit and Immortals and their road and path to the grand final as they get ready for the vetoes and the start of our first map of the grand final. Best of 3, remember, and this $1 million major will be underway as far as the grand final is concerned. Janko, we'll start with Gambit and talk about their run through first of all, because it has been an impressive run. You know, even before the semi-finals and playing Astralis, it was still a good run.
I mean, they only lost one map so far in this tournament. That was the Inferno game versus Astralis, and they had, you know, difficult opponents. Even when you look at the group stages, Mousesports first, G2, Virtus Pro, then the Fnatic, which did look rejuvenated a little bit in this tournament in the quarterfinals, and obviously the defending champions Astralis in the semis. And Adren is the highest-rated player of the team, but it didn't feel like he was carrying the team through those playoff games. It felt more like he had great games in the group stages. It was more of a team effort. Dosha and Zeus having a great game in the quarterfinal. I think that's one of the main reasons why Gambit is becoming a serious contender and why they're in the grand finals, because Dosha stepped up his game in a sense that, to me, like early in 2017, he was a bit of a liability. Maybe towards the end of 2016, couldn't get the kills that he needed to. But now he stepped up his game. He's winning a couple of clutches for the team every now and then, and that's allowing everyone else to play with a little less pressure.
And we focus on the good stuff. Is Adren, obviously. Funny you pick up Dozy, because he's the lowest rated player in this grand final. He's 42nd on the HLTV list for the major. Not terrible, because he's at 1.02. He's had a positive influence on the team. But you feel like maybe if he has a good game today, that could be the difference between the two teams.
Absolutely, and part of it is you even saw yesterday just any one player stepping up. We saw it with Immortals as well, but even on Gambit side of things, it was Mo against Astralis who just has one good game. Because you don't necessarily need those players like Doja, like Mo, to carry you through the series. You need them to get you one map, right? Yeah. It's the guys like Adren, the guys like Hobbit and Zeus' Calling that are going to carry you through the 3-map series. You just need them for the little extra at times when you're struggling. And I mean, especially Doja's playstyle. I mean, just a little, not the most cerebral player, not the most aggressive player, but he does play. You know, he kind of is that anchor. He gets a lot of impact kills when bomb sites are taken. And he's very important to get kills in that role, at least the damage being dealt. And if he comes up big, the defense of the CT sides for Gambit are going to go well. There's
only one player in this grand final, Janko, that has experience of playing in a grand final. He's done it twice before with Na'Vi. Both times ended up on the wrong side of the match, and this is the third time the charm, I guess, for Zeus. But with that in-game leadership, and obviously we saw in the semi-final, he's quite happy to take an in-game timeout during a round as well. Brilliantly done, great execution. He's got the team playing the way he wants it, and he's got that experience to pass on to the other 4 in the grand final.
And he's got the authority, right? When he talks, the rest of the team is quiet and they listen. And they do whatever needs to be done, and that's definitely important for any team. We've been talking about the resurgence of tactical Counter-Strike and the importance of in-game leaders, and Zeus hasn't been slouching in the fragging department either. That last game, I already mentioned him in the quarterfinals, in the semifinals yesterday on that last map on Train. I think he was even top fragging for the team, so that's something that you really don't expect from him. And the thing is, when Zeus does it, he's usually at times the guy going in first, or the guy sacrificing himself for the team so the rest of the players can do their thing. So if he has a good game, means he's creating a lot of space.
That's exactly what I was going to say about Zeus. Is not only in the games against Astralis, on that Train game specifically, when Astralis is making this run and their T side is just getting bogged down, not only does he find out what needs to be adjusted, but he adjusts it, and then he's the one who lead the way in the change-up. He's the one who comes down ladder. I mean, they started to figure out that they had to get ladder room taken care of on the T side. They had to flush Dupree out of there, and Zeus is the one who comes running down first to eliminate him. So just taking the reins of his own kind of tactical prowess.
Moving over to the Immortals team. They are the second Brazilian team, of course, to play in the grand final. Two of these players, of course, have played at a major, but the other 3 are playing in their first major. They can effectively do what Taco did in SK's, or as the Luminosity as they were back then, when they won his first ever major. So they can replicate that. There are 3 in the team, of course. But I guess the one we focus on is this man on the screen right now, Henny. We expect good AWPing from him, Janko. We expect him to be in the right place at the right time. Hasn't always happened. He's actually their lowest rated player at the major so far.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. He's very inconsistent as an AWPer. But the problem is for the opponents, once he has a good game, it's usually a really, really good game. And actually, yesterday's map against Virtus Pro, the Mirage game, was actually one of the weird games where Henny was just consistent, like not super flashy, you know, just getting a couple of kills every other round or so, breaking apart VP's default and so on. on. And I think that's what you need from an Opera first and foremost, and then everything else is a bonus.
Who else do you see as a key player? Because KNG's also picked up that AWP, and they love this 2 AWP setup on both sides, it seems.
They kind of have to with players that both like to AWP and are both effective with it. But the one good thing about KNG is we've also seen he can do it with rifles as well. So you normally see him pass up on the AWP if Henny needs it. I think there's 2 players that one of them needs to step up, and it's Bolts and Lucas. And we've seen both of them do it at different times during this event, and that's all they need is just one of them. But you do need those riflers in front of the AWPers. You do need them having success. You cannot just rely on the AWPers to be able to find you picks, to start opening up bomb sites from range. Because if you're doing that, the AWP is just one of those weapons where you can't be so aggressive with it in terms of how you swarm a bomb site. You have to kind of rely on a mistake being made by the opposition, and that's not always going to happen. So you need the AK-47s. You need the guys like Bolts and Lucas, and even Steel, who's been phenomenal even as an in-game leader, pushing into the sites.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, a very, very apparent thing about Immortals, so to speak, is yesterday they were a different team. Like, we've never seen Immortals so composed, so focused. They just seemed like they know what they want to do. They have a clear game plan, and the only thing we're going to focus on is executing it. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, not get too emotional, forget about all the banter and, jumping on our seats when we clutch around. Let's just keep our eyes on the prize, which is winning this series against VP, which is going to be extremely difficult. And that Immortals is way more dangerous than the Immortals we see previous. The Immortals which are emotional, they, live or die by those emotions, and if things start going wrong, like, for example, that Pasha 1v4 we saw yesterday, that they might just tilt after that round, and the game can fall apart for them.
Do you think that was a little bit to respect towards Virtus.pro and the crowd yesterday as well? They wanted to keep that calm.
Maybe a little bit, but I think that's just been the goal that they've had. I mean, Steele mentioned it in the major qualifier. I mean, even back then he was saying we need to find a way to not rely on our emotions. We need to find a way to keep ourselves centered. And you're kind of seeing that. And at the time, he was kind of just questioning, like, I don't really know how to do it because we've always played this way. And it takes all 5 players to buy into that kind of thing. And it's still okay to let some of those emotions out. It just has to be much more measured. Like Yanko said, it's not like the getting out of your chair and yelling in the booths or trying to let him hear you across the stage. But that is the Immortals that's dangerous, and that kind of calmness and that kind of mental focus in these high pressure situations, that is the next step of progression into becoming a great team.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things about them is you kind of like them for that as well. They kind of draw you in a little bit, don't they? And I feel like the crowd might like them to do that today as well. So we'll see what we get. The vetoes are almost here. Let's turn our attention to the map pool here.
Yeah, I think this is where the vetoes are. I was going to say, yeah, they are pretty clear cut. This is nuke ban for Immortals, Gambit, vetoes, Mirage. And this is where for picks it can get a little bit interesting, because I think if it weren't for that game against Astralis yesterday, Immortals would have picked Overpass straight away, because Gambit hasn't really played it that much. But after that performance versus Astralis, very dominating one from Gambit, Immortals actually go for Cobblestone, which is very interesting, seeing as how it is one of Gambit's best maps. Right? They were notorious for being undefeated on it for a very long time. Gambit goes into train. They've been picking it throughout the tournament. They seem to be comfortable on the map no matter what. And this is when you look towards the decider. We have Cash, Inferno, and Overpass left. Gambit vetoes Cash. Not really that surprising.
I think it's going to be Inferno.
And Immortals, yeah, you would assume they were going to go for Inferno after that game versus Astralis yesterday from Gambit.
Yeah, it seems to be a big favorite pick of Immortals is that Inferno, that they quite like that map. I think this is a little bit dicey in the sense that this leaves it very open for a Gambit 2-0 just because their Cobble is so good. If they can steal Immortals' opening pick, that can be heartbreaking, because the Gambit is incredibly good on this map. This is one of the maps that when they were struggling to win best of 3 series, it's because people just banned Cobblestone and they just never got to play it, because that was like the one map that they could just beat everyone on. So the fact that Immortals is picking it into them, that's a big risk. It's a lot of confidence from Immortals in their Cobblestone.
It is, isn't it? Very ballsy. We've spoken about the players and players on either side and their strengths and weaknesses and whatever. We haven't really covered the 2 teams' strengths and weaknesses, and I guess this is the ultimate, isn't it? It's one very strategic team versus a very kind of chaotic, in-your-face, run-and-gun style that they've got. But they can be tactical if they need to be.
Yeah, I think Gambit is the better team here. I think they play a better brand of Counter-Strike. I think Immortals have less ways of winning the game. But we saw Immortals yesterday fully aware of that and having like a clear way that they can play the game, focusing on executing that game plan. And when it works, it looks great for them. They decide to use their individual players. They go for a lot of contact plays, mostly fast-paced play, right, trying to brute force their way into bomb sites, and they just played with a lot of aggression. You couldn't see any fear in their game.
Zach said to me this morning when we were coming in, walked in with the coach this morning, he said, we just want revenge for DreamHack. I mean, it's like, why is that on their mind?
DreamHack Open.
DreamHack Open Austin in May. Gambit 1-2-0. It was on Inferno and Train. And that's in the back of their mind. They actually have this. We didn't like the fact that we got our backsides handed to us at that tournament.
I don't think they're thinking about that tournament whatsoever. I mean, maybe the revenge factor but that's where it stops, right?
A little bit sweeter.
That's where it ends. Definitely, they're thinking of that trophy in the middle of the stage at the moment, how they want to lift that. I think it's going to be tough because if Immortals is going to, we know they like this double op setup, but once you start getting into the tactics, once you see the ability of Zeus to adjust in the mid round, like we saw against Astralis, one of the best teams in the world, you figure he's going to have something up his sleeve here. And the great thing about a tactical team, about a double op setup, is since you're so organized and so structured, you have a plan going in of how you want to neutralize where these operas are going to be. You're going to have the smokes up in place. You're going to have the flashbangs coming through. You can get close, and that's going to allow you, even if you're not winning rounds, but to grind down the economy. You can prevent that double up from coming out because those tactical styles is always going to get you, a kill or two here or there.
What do you think is going through Zeus's mind right now as they go into the huddle on the Immortals side? Zeus sits in his third final. He's been here before. Hasn't won either of the previous two with arguably a better team, and sits on the verge of a chance here at winning a major.
Probably more confident this time around than ever, right? Considering, how well his team is playing at the moment and how Immortals, you could have faced a tougher opponent in this grand final. You look at that team and you can see some clear ways that you can exploit their flaws, especially when you look at the map. Well, I think Immortals should have left Cobblestone for a third map. I think they should have gone for Inferno as the pick, because now you're in danger if you don't get a good start. Gambit has multiple ways of coming back into the game, right? They're one of the few teams that does a very good job of getting reads on the CT side, doing some mid-round aggression, pop flashing, getting map information, and so on. You feel like for Immortals, it's going to be mostly about, on the T side, about those B executes, right? And getting those entry kills that Jason was talking about from the riflers, and then posting up in the after-plan situation.
All right, hold on a second, because we're going to bring in the commentary team. We're also making history with these two men as well today. They're casting their first ever grand final at a major, and I have to say, I'm absolutely thrilled for you both.
Thank you so much, Paul. Truth be told, he's done one before, but it's the first we've done as a duo. It does mean a lot. It's the culmination of a lot of hard work, but so too for these teams. And again, a final no one would have predicted. This is incredible to see these two teams here.
It's the surprise major, and who knows what's going to happen in the grand final.
I have no idea. I think if Immortals play like they did yesterday and keep the aggression on, Gambit's going to have a tough time.
Yeah, I think if KNG turns up especially, that guy is playing nuts right now. Him and Henny, quite a formidable duo, I would say, but Gambit, they've looked amazing all tournament, taking down the likes of Astralis as well. That's no easy feat. I would say they're the favourites overall, but Immortals could cause an upset here, I think.
Well, enjoy the final and take us into game number one, gents.
Thank you so much. We certainly will. It's going to be awesome. 15,000 fans yesterday cheered for Virtus Pro, and Immortals took them down so far on the route to the final.
Yeah, they've looked so good. They've taken on the likes of G2, Virtus Pro, Fnatic, Astralis, some big names here. And this is a team that had question marks around. Difficult to imagine them getting to the playoffs. I would say, yeah, they would be around my wildcard pick, if anything. And they made it, and they're now the grand final. We hadn't even seen this team compete in a big tournament in months. They've been, not really present online whatsoever at all as well, but coming back, the old legend Zeus has done it again. And I remember when he tweeted, when he left Na'Vi, right? Remember that tweet he made? He goes, I will not quit until I win a major. And
we've heard it.
He could do it this time. He's actually got a good chance of making it happen.
I would say as good a chance as he ever had on Na'Vi. Yeah. In fact, the last good chance he had on Na'Vi was obviously in Columbus, and they just didn't turn up in the final. Guardian obviously had wrist issues at the time. I don't know if that's a factor or not. I don't really read into it. I know there was something there, but this is incredible. The story there is you're right. He left Na'Vi, an organization that he was loyal to for a long period of time. He has a rich history with Na'Vi.
Absolutely.
And when he went to Gambit, joined in with roughly the same time as Hobbit, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. I thought, okay, it's fan favorite, obviously, Doja, but it's prolonging a career that perhaps didn't have much legs left.
And it goes to show you his leadership is incredible to bring them to where they are. And, I mean, look, he's not...
Virtus Pro yesterday 2-0. They looked amazing.
Yep, the double up setup for them has worked very, very well, which is something you have to focus on as well because it requires such good economy and good starts. They've had early pistols just about every time they've played CT since we've seen them in the playoffs. But more importantly than that, you have to look back to say, look, they failed 4 times to get here. It took 4 times to get here. And to go all the way through and have Brazil completely behind them on this because SK goes out. I know Fallen's here. I know all of SK is here. I know they've been cheering them on. They're going to want this more than ever, especially for this man, Bolts, who, as with Steel, was removed, I guess not most recent